Florence Johnson's childhood was painful and confusing.
We were in a single-parent household, and my mother took us to church on Sundays, so we were taught to believe in God. However, during the week, it was anything but godly. In our family, we had a Ouija board, which is a quote-unquote game, but we used it to contact the spirits. We had the seances. But I also remember feeling very uneasy when that went on, very frightened and having a very hard time going to sleep that evening.
Young Florence had strange and scary experiences.
So I would see things, hear things, but as a child, I was too frightened to tell anyone. And when I say see things, shadows darting in corners, I could hear voices at times. I always felt there were presences there trying to get my attention. I spent many, many years trying my best in my own power to ignore it, to pretend it wasn't there. If I saw something, I would look in the other direction and act like I did not see it. But by the time I was an adult, I was scared of the dark. I was afraid of driving. I had so much fear.
She did her best to ignore the voices and to control her fears. She married and had children, but her new husband was abusive, so she took the children and left. They moved in with family, but her fears intensified.
I was terrified of just about everything. I had claustrophobia, hydrophobia, every phobia you can think of was my way of dealing with the abuse that I suffered.
One day, her brother, a pastor, began talking to her about going to church.
I know now he had been praying for me all along, but Bishop Z, as we call him, would talk to me, try to talk to me about the Lord. I was a lot more interested in Star Trek than God, so I would change the conversation or zone out after a few moments. But he persevered, and finally I decided to send my kids to church. So I did not go initially to know God. I just went because I wanted to know what my children were being taught. But God grabbed me. It was one night at a church service with the music, and I know now it was the Spirit of God because peace just enveloped me from my head to my feet. I wanted to get up when they gave the salvation call. I knew there was something here that I wanted.
Florence accepted Christ into her heart and trusted him to take away her phobias. She enjoyed peace for a while, but soon the experiences of her childhood returned.
I would be doing dishes, and I'd hear a low murmuring in my ear, and I'd turn around. What is that? But there was no one there. I would see presences moving. Growls, like the growling of an animal. I became petrified, scared in my own skin, in my own home. Sleep was non-existent, and it came to a horrifying head one particular night. And I sat on my bed, and I literally felt a presence sit beside me. I looked over and saw the indentation on the bed and a growl in my ear, and I screamed. And in that second, I felt, if this is what it's like to love God, and my next sentence would have been, I want no part of it. But instead it was like, oh no, this is the devil, and I will hold on to God that much harder. And immediately, I started praying. I fell to my knees. God help me. I pleaded to him. I felt a different presence protecting me. When I finally went to sleep, it was the first time I had slept in actually uninterrupted sleep in, without exaggeration, about 2 years. And I felt as if the presence of God were holding me safe. And I knew in my heart that whatever this battle was, it was over.
Florence hasn't had any experiences like that since, and is confident that God protects her each day.
He is in every sense of the word my Father. I do not think of God as some presence out in a cloud somewhere with a long beard and a lofty position. Because of God's presence in my life, I know without a shadow of a doubt that he will see me through anything. Ask God to help you because he will show you the way. He showed me, he got me out. And that changed my life from that point forward.